If you broke up with an avoidant partner recently, this video is probably the most important video you'll be watching today, because we're going to talk about you and about respect. After a breakup, it's very easy to forget about some of the non-negotiables of what makes a healthy relationship. And when you break up with an avoidant, you feel they don't respect me. They don't listen to what I have to say. They don't understand that I have needs. They push me back whenever I'm too emotional, when I ask to commit. I want you to understand that right now it's all about forcing them. I'm going to use the word forcing, forcing them to take you seriously, because you deserve some respect. You deserve some clarity. And it's not about flexing yourself or shrinking yourself to be someone you're not, that you're going to get that. So in this video, it's really about empowerment. It's really about gaining clarity right away, especially if you broke up with an avoidant. I'll explain everything after the jingle. The core problem is after a breakup and you've listened to tips online, you went no contact, maybe you're in no contact, maybe you're in touch with them, and you feel like, oh, I gave them space, I went silence. And I've read online that if you go no contact, your ex will start to freak out, to panic, and would reconnect with you. But that doesn't necessarily build any form of respect, right? If you're an avoidant and your partner is going no contact, it could either reinforce their decision. So that's the case for most relationships, because most relationships are not necessarily what we would say, define them as defining relationships, meaningful relationships. And perhaps that's the case for you. And if that's the case, or if you're not sure, I put together an assessment to figure out whether this relationship can be saved. I'm not going to tell you, let's be clear. This is an assessment to tell you, you might get back together. You might repair the relationship. That doesn't mean I have a secret formula that will make every single relationship successful. Right? But what I can guarantee is that I can tell you if your relationship is not worth pursuing. So have a look in the description. It's totally free. That's why I put together this assessment, because I see that so many people watching my content, reading books, etc., they are focusing on the wrong problem. So my job, when I work with my clients, I know they took the assessment, they have a good score. And some of my clients, don't get me wrong, they don't get back together, but that's not the point. I'm going to come to that in a second. So this element of no contact, of silence, of distance, could also build defensiveness. But you're doing this to me, so I'm going to reclaim my independence. I'm going to, there's usually ego taking the lead in a relationship. And when you're avoidant, sometimes you reinforce those mechanisms, those coping mechanisms around defensiveness. It's temporary, but that's usually what happens right after the breakup. And this is why no contact is not enough. Avoidant will respect their partner, respect you, when they see those two things. You're emotionally contained, you're not reactive, you're not begging or pleading. That doesn't mean you should not be who you are. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have emotion. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be an empath. Okay, that's very different. Right? It's about having the ability to manage your emotions. Emotions are neutral in a way. Whether you're angry, sad, anxious, understand that it's a signal, right? It's a piece of information. Your job with your favorite therapist is to learn ways to make sense of those signals, to reframe those signals, and to use them rather than them using you. So that's the first element. And then it's about self-definement. It's about basically what you want, the non-negotiables that I discussed in the intro, the things that you would never compromise with. Boundaries. It could be about lifestyle. It could be about the relationship dynamic, etc., etc. And very often, people, they are focused on getting back with the ex. They go no contact. They break the contact. And again, I'm not against breaking the contact. But they're either not self-regulated. So if you do that, you're going to get back to square one. And if the breakup was really a clash of attachment, your avoidant partner will break up again. So very often people will get back together, few months, and then same input will result in the same outcome. And also some people, because they put the relationship on a pedestal, they forget about who they are, what they want. And they end up in a relationship depressed, unsatisfied, thinking that if I stick long enough, this one is very important, listen to this. I really want you to stop having this belief because it's not an accurate belief. If I stick long enough, if I stay long enough, if I accept long enough, they'll change. Let's take an example that I see frequently. He's married. They are separated, but he's still married. If I stay long enough and I wait long enough, he'll divorce his wife. I can tell you, I have these stories every single month. And I can tell you, it's not about waiting. So of course, if you dated for a week, yeah, you need to wait. But after a while, few months, few years, it's not a question of waiting, right? You're accepting something you should not accept. So in that context, do you want to be in a committed relationship? Do you want to live with your partner? Do you want to spend time together? If you were starting from scratch, would you accept being in a relationship with someone who's living elsewhere, right? Sharing a bed with someone else that he's supposedly separated with? Yes or no? That's also the mindset shift around not so much about the relationship, but who you are and what you want. So that's why it's not being manipulating, it's not being cold, needy, just anchored back to who you are and what you want. When you are clear with this and you write the right emotional regulation tool, then you can move forward. Then you can build the right relationship. These two elements are necessary, and you cannot pretend to repair or enter a new relationship if you don't have those two elements. And so the turning point is really through exposure, through experimentation. They will test things, right? When you start something, or when you restart, or there's always elements of like, let's do the old ways. So an avoidant will always try to mimic or test the water. And the mindset is really when you start recognizing that what you're doing, the patterns. If you keep repeating things, explaining, convincing, reacting, that's not the person you want. That's the partner you want to be in that relationship. It's when you realize, hold on, what am I doing? Who do I want to be in this relationship? And when you feel safe, so there's this element of like the role that you have in the relationship and how you feel emotionally. Of course, I'm not saying that when you reconnect with an ex, it's usually very a phase that is stable emotionally. Yes, you'll have ups and downs and roller coasters, but if you're constantly feeling triggered at what they're saying, what they're not saying, their attitude, their behaviors, etc., this is where you need to shift and push back. Okay, so it's when your nervous system will recalibrate, when you be able to affirm yourself, to be assertive, they're going to see you again. And maybe someone they never met before. Someone very strong, very self-assured, very confident. When I work with my clients who have an anxious attachment style, that's the indirect effect of building a secure attachment style. They are so confident afterwards, right? They feel in the workplace, with their colleagues, with their friends, with their ex, they can express what they want. They can establish the right boundaries. They can say no when they really, really mean no. And it's interesting because even people, I've worked with a client, she's 60 years old. And for the first time ever, she was able to express her concerns or disagree with her boss. Like the first time. And of course, at the beginning, she was so scared of like taking the leap of faith. And I thought, like, let's try. Let's do some micro exposure of testing a little bit, pushing the limit just a little bit. Usually the first one is very scary. And once you do it, you build what we call self-efficacy. I have the confidence that I can do it again and again and again. And this becomes not my new personality, but sort of my improved sense of safety. And this is what you have to aim. And this is how you get respect from an avoidant partner. So how does this look like? So we discussed about the internal element. The external element is, whenever you talk to them, whenever you speak with them, it's casual. It's about curiosity. It's not about judging, right? You're above all those concerns. Right now, you're just like trying to work things out. So you're not forgetting yourself, but you're not judging and you're not pressuring them, right? You don't have any agenda. You take day by day. And if I think about the client I was referring to, that's exactly the process. So when she messaged him, he replied right away. No contact. She was so scared, he replied like within 5 minutes. They started texting each other, and then they met. Nothing happened when they met. They just had a chat. And then they met another week. They went for a walk, etc., etc., etc. But I really, really spent a lot of time preparing her on what to say, what not to say. Because obviously you have those like, yeah, but I need to talk about what we had. I need to tell him, I need him to apologize. I told her, this will come. Right now you want to show that you're strong. Right now you want to show that you're just here to assess things. We don't say that you assess, but you're just here to spend a good time, right? This is the only way. You can also help him in that context to understand what you desire, what you want. And so this element of her speaking up was also for him. So one day, if I remember correctly, they wanted to go to a place, and she didn't like that place, but she was so scared of telling him, I don't want to go to this pub. I told her, like, trust me, just do it. And sometimes you need someone to tell you, like, to push you, like, that's what she did. And in the end, she felt like he was totally okay. But I had this fear from when I was little that if I speak up, and if I say I don't disagree, people will get back at me, will judge me, will dismiss me, will love me less, will abandon me, etc., etc. By the way, thinking about that, let me know in the comment section if you would want me to do some case studies, real case studies of clients I've helped and understanding their path at either reconciling with their ex or moving on after a difficult breakup. I'm thinking of doing it. I don't know exactly how to do it because it's anonymized and I don't want to reveal too much, but let me know if you want to, if you think that will create value in your journey. So why does it work? When you regulate your system, when you're the secure base, they will adapt. I usually use this image of you need to be the role model. So you're not trying to actively pull them. They need to come to you naturally, right? In other words, if you have an insecure attachment style, deep inside, you want someone with a secure attachment style to show you how to do it, right? Especially if the people have feelings and they want this relationship to work out. If you show them another way, a secure way, usually people respond positively. If they don't, it means that they have something that prevents them from actually opening their eyes to what could be another relationship. So if people have, whether they're anxious or avoidant, have a fixed mindset, i.e., this is the way I am, this is the way things are, then it's very hard to repair a relationship because for them, considering another relationship is impossible. And you cannot get back with someone, repair a relationship, if you don't change something, right? So if you're dating someone who's, and again, it's something that I assess in the assessment, who has this sort of fixed mindset on things about like, this is what we had, and I'm convinced because I've had it in the past, because of many of my belief system, limited belief system, And if we get back together, we will exactly have the same experience. It's going to be very hard for you to get back together. So you can still test, you can still expose yourself, you can still be a secure person. If it doesn't work out, you walk out without any form of regret, because it's not so much about you, it's about them. And this is, so going back to the slide, it's all about regulation. So you think that avoidant, they are really good at self-regulating. No, they just dismiss things. So when you're the one who's self-regulated, who can also use effective communication, this is how you teach them in a way, how you can be vulnerable, how you can be the safe person in the room. The point here is not for them to feel secure, right? The point for them is to feel, okay, I have the feeling that this relationship, that this interaction is healthy. Again, if I go back to my example of my client, after a few, and it didn't happen in one date, but after a few dates, they went on a walk and he started to discuss about his fears, his childhood, his divorce, why he divorced, etc. And when you start having those conversations, connecting at a deeper level, this is how you create strong emotional bond, right? And this is how you allow the avoidant to see your world. I call that pragmatic empathy. Is this idea of you need to understand your own attachment, being self-aware, so you can express your needs more effectively, but also in return, use that empathy to understand their world. And this is the only way, not the best way, it's the only way for you to connect emotionally with someone, is having the ability to be self-aware and also expect your partner to be self-aware as well. And that's it. If you have any question, let me know. Let me know in the comment section if you want me to have some case studies or maybe doing some interviews of clients that I don't know whether my clients would be keen to do that on YouTube, but things where I would explain some case studies or things like that. And probably I might do some Q&A where people will ask me questions, audio questions, and I will answer on YouTube. So again, let me know if you would find it helpful and if you have any other suggestions. Again, if you want to support and help, you can subscribe and like this video. That helps me with the YouTube algorithm to be there at the forefront. And I'll see you next time. Take care.